Get out. You're nothing but a disappointment. My father's words echoed through our family's luxurious living room, his face red with rage. 28 years old, and what do you have to show for it? Nothing. I stood there, my hands steady despite the storm raging inside me. Behind him, my mother sat perched on our imported Italian sofa, her lips pressed into a thin line of disapproval. The same expression she'd worn throughout my childhood. I built this company from nothing, he continued, gesturing to the various awards and recognition plaques that lined our walls. And you refuse to follow the path I set for you. Instead, you waste time with your innovative ideas and sustainable business models. The way he spat those words made them sound like insults. To him they were. Dad, if you just look at my proposal, I started, but he cut me off with a dismissive wave. Enough, Olivia. Your brother managed to secure 3 major contracts this month alone. Meanwhile, you're still talking about long-term sustainability and ethical business practices. This isn't some university classroom. My brother Marcus. Of course. The golden child who followed our father's every command, who never questioned the old ways of doing business, who didn't care if their practices were destroying the environment or exploiting workers, as long as the profit margins kept growing. The industry is changing, I said firmly, refusing to back down. If Harrison Industries doesn't adapt. Out. He roared, making my mother flinch. Pack your things and get out of my house. Since you think you know better than 30 years of business experience, go prove it. But don't come crawling back when you fail. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. Instead, I walked to my room with my head held high, packed my essentials, and walked out of the mansion I'd called home for 28 years. My mother didn't even get up to say goodbye. That was 3 years ago. I'd love to say I immediately became successful, that I proved them wrong overnight. But real life isn't that simple. The first 6 months were brutal. I moved into a tiny studio apartment, survived on instant noodles, and worked 18-hour days building my company from scratch. Sterling Industries started small. Just me, my laptop, and an unwavering belief that business could be both profitable and ethical. I used my savings to hire 2 brilliant engineers who'd been overlooked by the major corporations because they didn't fit the traditional mold. Together, we developed revolutionary green technology that could cut industrial energy consumption by 60%. The breakthrough came when a mid-sized manufacturing company took a chance on us. Our system saved them millions in energy costs while significantly reducing their carbon footprint. Word spread quickly in the industry. By the end of our first year, Sterling Industries had grown from 3 people in a cramped office to 30 employees occupying half a floor in a downtown building. By year 2, we had offices in 3 cities and a client list that included some of the biggest names in manufacturing. I made sure to keep my name out of the press. Sterling Industries was known for its innovative CEO, Ms. Evans, but few people knew that Olivia Evans was actually Olivia Harrison, the daughter my parents had thrown away. I followed my family's business news from afar. Harrison Industries was struggling to adapt to new environmental regulations. Their old contracts were drying up as more companies committed to sustainable practices. My father's outdated methods were finally catching up with him. Then came the Maxwell contract. Maxwell Corp was the biggest name in sustainable technology manufacturing. Landing their business could make or break a company. I knew Harrison Industries was desperate to secure it. They needed a win to stay relevant in the changing market. What my parents didn't know was that 6 months ago, Sterling Industries had quietly acquired controlling interest in Maxwell Corp through a series of shell companies. Every major decision, every contract had to cross my desk. So when my assistant walked in with the contract proposal from Harrison Industries, I couldn't help but smile at the irony. The daughter they'd kicked out for being useless now held their company's future in her hands. I read through their proposal carefully. It was exactly what I'd expected, full of empty promises about sustainability while planning to use the same old harmful practices. They were trying to buy their way into the green energy market without actually changing anything. My phone buzzed. A message from my brother. Dad's really nervous about this Maxwell deal. Keeps saying it's our last chance to turn things around. Guess you were wrong about the industry changing, sis. We're about to land the biggest contract of the year. I set my phone down and picked up my stamp. The same stamp that had approved dozens of contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The same stamp that could save or destroy Harrison Industries. In bright red ink I marked the proposal, rejected. But this wasn't just about revenge. I had a bigger plan in mind. One that would force my family to face everything they'd tried to ignore. Tomorrow morning I would walk into Harrison Industries not as their rejected daughter, but as the CEO of Sterling Industries, the company they were about to learn they desperately needed. Sometimes karma works in deliciously ironic ways. The Harrison Industries lobby hadn't changed in 3 years. The same marble floors, the same pretentious artwork, the same receptionists with plastic smiles. But this time as I walked through the revolving doors in my tailored suit, I wasn't the disappointing daughter. I was Olivia Evans, CEO of Sterling Industries. I have a 9 a.m. with the board, I told the receptionist, enjoying how she straightened up at my presence. Everyone in the industry knew about Sterling's success, even if they didn't know who really ran it. Of course, Ms. Evans. Mr. Harrison and the board are expecting you. The elevator ride to the top floor brought back memories. How many times had I stood in this same elevator, clutching proposals my father would never read? How many times had I tried to warn them about the changing industry, only to be dismissed? My assistant Sarah stood beside me, tablet in hand. Their quarterly reports arrived this morning, she whispered. They're in worse shape than we thought. The Maxwell rejection hit them hard. I nodded. And the other matter? Done. Our legal team has confirmed we can proceed with the acquisition offer. The boardroom doors opened and I walked into a room full of familiar faces. My father sat at the head of the table looking older than I remembered. The constant stress of watching his empire crumble had taken its toll. My brother Marcus sat to his right, attempting to project confidence but failing to hide his worry. Ms. Evans, my father stood, extending his hand. Thank you for coming on such short notice. I shook his hand firmly, noting how he didn't recognize me. 3 years, a different last name, and success had changed me more than I realized. Let's skip the pleasantries, I said, taking a seat. We all know why I'm here. Harrison Industries is failing. Your quarterly reports show a 60% drop in profits. Your major clients are jumping ship to companies with better environmental practices. And now, after the Maxwell rejection, your stock has hit an all-time low. Marcus leaned forward. We've had a rough quarter, but 3 years, I cut him off. For 3 years your company has refused to adapt. You've ignored changing market demands, dismissed environmental concerns, and clung to outdated practices. Now you're paying the price. My father's face reddened. We've been in business for 30 years. Who are you two? I'm the CEO of the company that's offering to save yours, I interrupted, sliding folders to each board member. Sterling Industries is prepared to acquire Harrison Industries. We'll modernize your operations, retain most of your workforce, and implement sustainable practices that will make you profitable again. The board members eagerly opened their folders. My father sat frozen. This is a hostile takeover, Marcus sputtered, scanning the documents. No, I smiled. This is an opportunity. Your only opportunity, actually. Without this deal, Harrison Industries will be bankrupt within 6 months. My father finally found his voice. You can't. Actually, I can. I stood up, walking to the front of the room. You see, I've spent 3 years building what you said couldn't be done. A company that's both profitable and ethical. While you were chasing quick profits, I was developing technologies that are now industry standards. Something flickered in my father's eyes. Recognition maybe? Or just fear? Sterling Industries isn't just offering to buy you out, I continued. We're offering to save everything you built. The jobs of hundreds of employees. The legacy you're so proud of. All you have to do is sign. A board member spoke up. Mr. Harrison, we should consider this. The terms are more than fair. My father stared at me, really looked at me for the first time since I'd entered the room. Olivia. The room went silent. Marcus's jaw dropped. Hello, Dad. I kept my voice steady. Surprised to see your disappointment of a daughter? He stood up so quickly his chair toppled backward. This is some kind of revenge plot? No, I said firmly. This is business. The kind of business I tried to tell you about 3 years ago. The future you refused to see. Marcus found his voice. You can't do this to our family. Family. I laughed. You mean the family that threw me out? The family that dismissed every idea I had? That family. I turned to the board members. 3 years ago, I stood in this room and presented a plan for sustainable technology. I warned that the industry was changing. Mr. Harrison here called me naive and kicked me out of both the company and his home. Now I'm offering to save everything he built. My father sank back into his chair, looking defeated. Why didn't you tell us about Sterling? Would you have listened? I asked quietly. Or would you have tried to shut me down like you did with every other idea I had? The room fell silent again. Board members exchanged glances, papers rustled, and 30 years of stubbornness began to crack. The offer expires in 24 hours, I said, gathering my things. I suggest you think carefully about the future of this company and the jobs that depend on it. As I turned to leave, my father's voice stopped me. Olivia, wait. I paused at the door. I was wrong, he said, his voice rough with emotion. About everything. I turned back. Yes, you were. The question is, are you ready to admit that to more than just me? He looked around the boardroom at the faces waiting for his decision. 30 years of doing things his way, of refusing to change, had led to this moment. The world is changing, he said slowly. Maybe it's time we change too. 2 weeks later, I sat in what used to be my father's office, now mine, signing the final acquisition papers. Harrison Industries would become a subsidiary of Sterling, with a new focus on sustainable technology. Most employees kept their jobs, though several board members, including Marcus, chose to leave. My father, surprisingly, asked to stay on as a consultant. I have a lot to learn, he admitted during our first meeting. About business, about change, about family. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. That would take time. But it was a start. The nameplate on the desk still read Harrison Industries, but with a Sterling company beneath it. A reminder that sometimes success isn't about destroying the old, but about transforming it into something better. My mother called a week after the acquisition was announced. I always knew you were special, she claimed, trying to rewrite history. I let her talk, but I didn't let her change the past. Mom, I said finally, if you want to be part of my life now, you need to accept that I'm not the daughter you wanted. I'm the daughter who proved you wrong. The view from the office window showed a city changing, growing, becoming better. Just like the company I now ran. Just like the relationships I might rebuild on my terms. 3 years ago they kicked me out for being useless. Now their company's survival depended on what I'd built. But the real victory wasn't in proving them wrong. It was in proving myself right. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying what hurt you. It's about building something so magnificent that they're forced to recognize their own mistakes. And sometimes, if you're lucky, those mistakes can become stepping stones to something better. As I sat in my new office, I thought about the long journey from that painful night to this moment. Success hadn't come overnight. It had come through countless sleepless nights, through determination, through believing in myself when no one else would. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Evans, your father's here for the sustainability meeting. I smiled, picking up the folder of new proposals I'd prepared. Send him in. The door opened and my father entered, looking more humble than I'd ever seen him. Ready to learn about the future? I asked. He nodded, taking a seat. Ready to learn from my daughter. And that, more than any contract or acquisition, felt like true success.